Oh, I think I just came in at perfect timing, as Mr. Rowboat Gillman was saying victory, and apparently now the Skull Showcase starts. So the fact that I am late is not a problem. And ideally, I will be able to stay in here without many ads running. Apparently, Adblock does not stop ads on Twitch. I would not have known that prior because I am not a Twitch user. And here's Rahul Kohli. I do not know much about him other than he is an actor. He's not been in many movies that I've seen. But I know that he is a huge Warhammer nerd, and will probably be with Henry Cavill in the new Warhammer show. I'm going to assume what he's saying now is just hype speak, so I'm not really paying that much attention. Okay. Let me check just real quick to make sure the recording is working. Because whatever this is probably not anything interesting. Okay, there we go. Let's get back in there. Ooh, if this is an orc racing game, that would actually be pretty sick. This looks like an orc racing game. Was there not an orc racing game on the tabletop? Something associated with Gorka Morka? Okay, this looks like an orc racing game or an orc version of Twisted Metal. Which is absolutely a game that should have existed a long time ago, but I'm glad it exists now. Yeah, I mean, obviously this could be bad, and I have no idea of knowing, but at the very least, this is a very cool concept. I appreciate that you can choose to take a looted Lehman Russ, or apparently a battle wagon, which you'd think would be a little OP, I guess it's slow. A motorcycle, you know. I can't remember the names of any of the orc vehicles. I'm not a very good Warhammer 40k fan anymore. But this is a very cool idea. Speed Freaks. Join the playtest now on Steam. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I just might. That's neat. That's neat. Out of water.
In the tales of the Norse and the Kurgan,
Harry the Hammer.
legend of a warrior unparalleled.
I like how he's got the little bad moon shoulder pad.
A champion forged in the heart of fear, who reached into the grave and found only hate.
Is this the new narrator? Is she replacing the advisor? I like how we're in Norska, but we're resurrecting Imperial zombies anyways. That's just how it is with vampire counts. Of course, we have to have Harold fighting the undead, right? Because on the cover of the original Warhammer rulebook, he's fighting a skeleton. I'm curious how they'll make Harold unique gameplay-wise, though.
To embrace such hate is to become a nightmare. It is to wield dread as lesser men wield armies. It is to become fear itself. It is to become the Hammer Storm.
There's no way to make that cool, honey. You can try, but... Oh, is Harold Hammerstorm's lore... Are they going to make his lore that he hates the undead? That'd be interesting. I appreciate that he has the long white beard coming out from underneath the helmet. That's an underappreciated aesthetic in the Warriors of Chaos, when they've got the hair coming out of the helmet. Okay, presumably he's through, yeah, Crev Assembly Access, or whatever it's called. Total War Access, there we go. The same way almost all Legendary Heroes are. Yeah, show off the roadmap. Kind of surprised they didn't save the roadmap for today. I mean, I guess people were mad, so it was just to try and deal with how mad people were, but, eh. They'll find a new thing to be mad about. Oh, Warhammer Plus ad, okay. Maybe I should try Warhammer Plus at some point. It seems like it would be neat to have access to Warhammer shows like this. At the very least, my family would be interested in it, because this is probably the only way they'll understand it. Or understand the lore. It's kind of odd to pay for Warhammer Plus just to see a couple guys sitting around painting. I don't know. I wasn't so much into the, I'm not so much into the, what's the name of the guy? I mean, if they're tutorials, that'd be cool, but I wasn't so much into the guy that did, who's the... Two Thin Coats? I don't know. I didn't watch too much of him, though. I mean, he seemed cool, don't get me wrong. He seemed like he was giving useful tips. It's just I didn't watch too many of his videos. Duncan something. Oh, the resolution suddenly got real low. Blood Bowl. What? The resolution is just suddenly going terribly. Is my internet going out? What's happening? Whatever, I guess I'll just leave it like that. Okay, yeah, Blood Bowl parody of Indiana Jones. I see. Oh, they're... So this is... I'm going to guess this is supposed to mean they're adding the Lizardmen to Bloodborne 3. Wait, there aren't Slan players in Blood Bowl, are there? Because when I've played Bloodborne 2, there were no Slan players. There were Slan coaches, and they had the goofy beer helmets. Yeah, okay, this is to hype up the addition of a Lizardmen team and Illustrian field. I need to play more Bloodborne 2. It seems ridiculous. Bloodborne 3, I'm cool, just kind of hanging out for a little bit. I'm not such a Bloodborne fan to rush to pick up a new one. I already own Bloodborne 2. The amount of fat jokes at the expense of the Slan in Bloodborne is ridiculous. I hope this music isn't copyrighted. So it's an Empire team. Does the Empire team have female players? I was kind of figuring that was an Amazon. Is that like an Amazon Star player? Of course, the Lizardmen gimmick is you have Sauruses and Croxagores that can do the, you know, be linemen or whatever. I know nothing about football. I'm a bad American. But, and then they have the Skinks can run the balls, right? And they're skink cheerleaders. You know, I thought it was really neat when they released the book for the RPG. I've seen a few, the Lustria book for the tabletop RPG, and it talks about how the Lizardmen still feel emotions, but their culture makes it where they don't really understand emotions. It looks like the Blood Bowl Lizardmen understand emotions perfectly well. I appreciate that we're not cutting back to... Not specifically, I don't have a thing against Rahul Kohli. I don't know barely anything about the guy. But I appreciate we're not just cutting back to the presenter between each game to have him talk about, that was a pretty great trailer, wasn't it? Get hyped for more Warhammer games. Yeah, these are some... Is this a Horus Heresy game? These look like the Primarchs. This is a card game. Yep, it is a card game. I was figuring for a second there, like, okay, what are we going to hype up the Primarchs for? Because this is 2D art. And of course, it's a card game. I'm going to lower that volume. I don't really care. Yeah, I'm not a card game guy. It sounded like Gwent and that, like, Yu-Gi-Oh game. Well, what am I saying? There's always been online card games, hasn't there? Because there was Hearthstone that was all the rage 10 years ago? 11? 12 years ago? Yeah, I don't really get it. It's not for me, though. Not every game has to be for me. But being angry on YouTube does get views. Okay, so this is a mobile game about fantasy. Yeah, this is a mobile game, okay. Again, I don't care. looks very stiff, whatever this is. If there's not something real crazy in a little bit, I have a strong feeling this recording is not going to get uploaded. I have a profound lack of interest in this. I appreciate that at the very least Warhammer Fantasy is getting any love at all, but mobile games, not my thing. I am not a child, nor am I... Oh, Rahul Kohli voices the dude in Bolt Gun. Okay, I need to pick up Bolt Gun. I've been strapped for cash for about 6 months now as a result of getting this computer I'm recording this on. But Bolt Gun is very definitely on the list of games to look into once I have got more money together. Hang on, I'm receiving a text. There we go. Answering a text on my watch. The future is here, boys and girls. It's kind of odd for them to hype up a game that's already out. I guess it's still in that early, like, the best sales for a game are near always in the first week, unless, like, a YouTuber winds up really hyping it up among us, like, a year after release. But odds are, the first week, Bolt Gun is one of those games that's going to sell its best in the first week, so I guess I understand why, you know, get the marketing stuff in still. Odd they didn't show a trailer for it or any, like, gameplay. Be curious if it gets DLC later on. Hang on, I am still getting texts. Okay, it's nothing. Now, what on earth is this? Oh, it's Bolt Gun, okay. Now, I would be most excited to see... With Total War Warhammer out of the way, I'd obviously be most excited to see something for Gladius. But I believe the Gladius devs were not announced for this. You can do air dashes with a chainsaw? Let's turn down that audio a little bit. I like the sprites. It's very nice sprite art. However, it also when your internet is inexplicably going downhill, it does not make the game look very good. This is not a very good example of the game, I feel. Considering that my internet, which is ordinarily astounding, and yesterday did not encounter any issues when watching the PlayStation Showcase with my friends over on the Devolution channel, ran into no issues. Now suddenly it's just having a hard time. I don't know if Twitch gives particular issues compared to YouTube streaming. I don't know. Oh, I accidentally smashed the escape key with my left hand. Inspired by Warhammer 40k. Oh, World of Tanks. Well, you know what? As long as they go with fictional vehicles, they won't leak military documents. But would people not find it a bit odd to have their realistic military tank game that's got, you know, Shermans and Panzers and whatever else? I don't care. I'm not like a military historian guy, or at least a modern military historian guy. Would they find it not a little bit odd to be going at it with the obviously fictional Lehman Russ tank, which has flamethrowers on the side, and I don't believe any real-world tank has, at least any real-world tank of relevance? I could be wrong. I'm not a modern military historian. I'm probably wrong. Somebody's probably tried it at some point. Just seems a bit odd of a choice, which Warhammer is all about odd choices, of course. Is the Lehman Russ going to be the only tank they're doing? Seems like you could do more tanks. The Lehman Russ is probably the one tank that... The Lehman Russ doesn't look quite as odd, I guess, compared to a lot of the tanks of World War I or World War II. Comparatively, you could throw in the Land Raider, how absolutely gargantuan it is in size, and it would be obviously absurd. Oh! I was wrong. Gladius is here. Are they going to announce some kind of super edition that comes with all of the factions? That would be cool. Because that is the issue with getting into Gladius right now, is the quantity of DLC can be very imposing. The Firepower Pack out now. Oh, well, presumably these were some units I would love to see, except that my resolution on the stream has abruptly gone down wildly, so I can't see what the units are. I see a... right now I'm just seeing the standard units. I think I saw... Was that a... Not a Devastator, what was it called? Well... Base game free to keep. May 25th through June the 1st. I'm going to harass all of my friends. What day is today? Is today May 25th? Yes, it is. Alright, well, after this recording, I'm going to start harassing my friends. And I am going to also harass my family members, come to think of it. Battle Sector. I've been mildly curious about this in the past, but isn't it just Space Marines versus Tyranids? Or no, I'm thinking of, the game that's Space Wolves versus, Orcs. Battle Sector I know nothing of. I might have heard in the past that it's fairly cool. It looks like they're evidently hyping up Khorne. It's kind of odd to have an interview with the actual developer of the game. We haven't seen much of that. It's crazy the amount of Warhammer 40k games we're getting now. The amount of Warhammer games altogether. Which I guess now Warhammer is more of a pretty well global super franchise than it was, 20 years ago. But I remember as a kid, Dawn of War was the only Warhammer game. And I remember looking up, trying to read up all I could on Fire Warrior, because that game sounded awesome to a kid, and then you try it and it's not quite so amazing. And I was amazed when they announced Space Marine, and now there's just so many games. Speaking of which, we're probably going to see Space Marine 2 coming up soon, aren't we? This developer is going for it. I can appreciate that. Get a nice good shot of the crotch on that Killican. Or that was probably a Death Dread, wasn't it? The Killicans are the small ones that only have 2 arms. And they have the goblins, the grots inside. The Death Dreads are the bigger ones with 4 arms that have an orc as the pilot. Yeah. Okay, Good Old Games is giving away a bunch of old Warhammer games. Oh no, wallpapers, okay. First month discount code. I might go ahead and go for that, yeah. Warhammer merchandise discount. Yeah, that sounds nice. Cubicle 7 discount. I will absolutely take that. I will absolutely take that. Yeah, uh-huh. I already own a copy of Dawn of War 1. Underworlds. That's the turn-based Age of Sigmar game, right? I might be curious about that. Oh, these are all sales, right? Okay. Right, I don't have the money. What am I saying? Yeah, that's cool, though, to see those discount codes. I will go ahead and grab those to use later, depending on the time limit on them, I suppose. 20% off discount voucher. I might be able to get a physical version as one of the Cubicle 7 Warhammer Fantasy roleplay books. Blood and Teeth. I was curious whether or not this game was good. I haven't looked into it too much, though. At the very least, this seems like a funny game to play with friends and family. Who are you fighting? I can't get a good look at who you're fighting. I would assume Tyranids. Oh no, it looks like you're fighting... Looks like you're fighting just generic hoodlums, I suppose. Nonetheless, yeah, that's a game I should look into getting on a... Is it on Switch? I should have looked when they had the consoles there. If it's on Switch, I should look into that, because that's a game I could play with a family. Vermintide? Vermintide.
The dwarves of Karak-Azgaraz have had hopes of reclaiming Kazikro. Only the war parties disappeared without a trace. Looks like you'll need to save Karak-Azgaraz all over again.
Okay, we're porting over the old Karakazgoraz maps from Vermintide 1. With some new goofy outfits. Have they... I haven't been paying that much attention to Vermintide lately. I need to get back to playing it. Have they done any, like, hinting at what the 4th Sienna class is going to be? Because I'm curious about that. All of the DLC class... I wasn't so big on Sister of the Thorn, but the other 3 DLC classes I really loved. Presumably if I play now, I can actually play Warrior Priest Saltspire. He won't be taken in every game. Guess I'm not complaining, though. If somebody's taking Warrior Priest Saltspire, that's a bigger chance I get to play Grail Knight Marcus. It's a free update. Okay, so it's a free update. They're adding back the Karakazgoraz maps. That's cool.
I know you're suspicious of what I've chosen, but you really shouldn't be.
Okay, so Sienna is going to be using some kind of weird magic that isn't bright magic. Fire magic. Okay. And she said, I know you're suspicious, but you shouldn't be, so it's going to be something like necromancy, maybe. Something for Darktide. What I really want for Darktide... I need to actually buy Darktide. I've only played it during the open beta. But what I'd be more interested for Darktide than any pack of maps or weapons would be a playable Ratling or playable Votan class. But that probably won't happen. At least not anytime soon. But the ability to play as Ogrins was really cool. I'd love to see them continue going in that direction with the playable Abhumans.
What you just saw is a sneak peek of the exciting new content coming to Darktide, which will release during Skulls. Before we talk about that, let's have a look at what we've done over the past 6 months. Since launch, we have worked hard to improve the game. We have delivered 2 content drops.
Okay, so this is partly just a, like, apology stream event of, like, hey, yeah, we know Darktide had a rough launch. We swear we've improved it since. I thought Darktide was pretty cool for the little bit I played of it, but it definitely felt a little bit rough around the edges in lots of places.
Patch number 9, Cards and Penances, where we revamped the penances and added new cosmetic rewards. Your support over the past 6 months have been key in delivering these updates, and we will keep delivering more content at a steady rate. Now let's have a look at Content Drop, Rejects Unite, which will release during Skulls.
Oh, why? Why is my internet ordinarily good except during the events where it matters? I'm seeing the vague outline of a train, but mostly I'm just seeing delicious, delicious pixels.
The first one, Archive on Sycorax. We see your team dispatched to wipe out sensitive data.
So these are maps. This is a map pack. Okay.
Riser 31 will be part of our first community event. Players will have to unite to go through 3 challenges, each granting rewards. The final reward will be Ascension Riser 31. An old friend will also be added to the game, the Chaos Spawn.
Oh, the Chaos Spawn. Well, I mean, they can just take over the Chaos Spawn from Vermintide, and I don't think anybody would mind. Like, as a matter of fact, I think it would be neat if Vermintide and Darktide shared a boss.
Content, we will have more quality of life improvements and bug fixes added into the game with patch number 10. A new shop dedicated to earnable cosmetics will open on the Morningstar, featuring additional items to collect. You can now see all earnable cosmetics in your inventory, including those left to unlock.
So I assume earnable cosmetics means they're not DLC. I would hope so, because that was one thing in particular that I thought was a bit odd going to Darktide, was that Vermintide had a lot of capability to get cosmetics without paying real-world money, but Darktide seemed like it didn't. It helps. I was a little bit saddened just because a lot of the... Was there not a cosmetic set for the Talarn Desert Raiders? Because the Talarn Desert Raiders have always been my favorite Imperial Guard regiment, and it looked like they had the DLC cosmetic, which, if I get into Darktide someday and I get really into it, I probably would shell out for it, so I guess fair is fair. Been seeing the Everguild logo a lot here. It's a developer I've never heard of before this. Oh, it's a card game again. Why do we need 2 card games? For both for Warhammer 40k? I guess one's for Horus Heresy? I don't... Like, I'm not... It's one of the things about 40k that has very much passed me by, having not really paid that much attention for the past 10 years, is that now Horus Heresy is this really big thing that seems like people care about more than the modern day timeline in 40k. Because everybody just constantly talks about the Primarchs and jokes about their personalities. Whereas, you know, mainline 40k, it just seems like it's a little bit of like, Robotay Gilliman is up to something. The Lion is back. Of course, I'm not paying that much attention, so I could be dead wrong. But nowadays, I am by and large a fantasy guy. I still pay attention to 40k when it seems like there's something cool happening, though. I should look into Age of Sigmar at some point. Well, actually, I don't. Speaking of which, I actually grabbed this for that for cheap at a bookstore recently, so I may be dipping my toes in the Age of Sigmar lore very soon. Though there's not really any big Age of Sigmar video games out right now. I did hear they were working on an RTS for Age of Sigmar. I hope Games Workshop understands that... I think Games Workshop has in the past somewhat been scared that by making these games, these strategy games, they're making it where miniature sales will go down because people see the strategy games as a substitute. When, no, Dawn of War massively increased the sales of 40k, or massively increased the reputation at least, and Total War Warhammer has played a big part in Warhammer Fantasy coming back. So, ideally, Games Workshop will recognize if they want Age of Sigmar to start to actually be a big success, what they do is they start really focusing on that RTS. Of course, I'm not a financial expert, so maybe I'm dead wrong. I don't know. Makes sense to me, I guess, but then again, anecdotes are anecdotes. They don't mean that much. Okay, Space Marine 2. Gameplay of killing lots of Tyranids. As a warrior, he is going to be a bit more troublesome. Oh, we've got parries. Okay. How advanced is the melee combat here? Because the idea of a proper, like, Devil May Cry, God of War style Space Marine game is really interesting. And if memory serves, the original Space Marine had a little bit of that, but not too much. It wasn't that deep. And the shooting felt a bit awkward because there was almost no ammo. Though on a Tyranid-infested world, there's a bit more... It's a bit more understandable for there not to be ammo on a Tyranid-infested world. After all, they've probably been eating most of the ammo. Against orcs, eh. Then again, I guess the orcs don't necessarily need ammo. If they believe a gun will work, it tends to work. Oh, that's a neat statue. Ideally, we're going to wrap it up soon, because I apparently need to go eat lunch. And yes, I did just wake up, and nonetheless, I'm going to be eating lunch. I, woke up at 10 and, did not... Oh, they're gonna be doing the... Okay, they're gonna be making a specialist game of Space Marine where one player controls the Titus, was that his name? Titus? And the other player plays everybody else. That's kind of funny, honestly. That's pretty well the epitome of Games Workshop right there, isn't it? Like, we're just gonna make a board game that's just one Space Marine killing everybody else. And everybody will buy loads of it because the Space Marines sell. Neat idea for a tie-in, though. It would be kind of funny if that board game comes out and it's just discreetly a way for Tyranid players to get loads of gaunts for cheap. Or for cheaper than usual, rather. You can now put Warhammer logos on your cars in some game. What is this? Why are we cutting back and forth between pictures of Warhammer logos on trucks, decals on trucks, and then Space Marine gameplay? SnowRunner! That's so weird. Why would that be a thing? Why would that be a thing you want to do? World War Z also gets cute little Space Marine trinkets. Those are both really weird tie-ins. That is bizarre. What? Yeah, what? What indeed? That's my reaction to what we just saw. What? It's funny how blood and gore is apparently kosher to show in trailers as long as you show it in shadow. Find it funny, this little video here that's like, okay, we know there's a lot of you who just play Warhammer video games. Would you consider, please, buying some miniatures? And he used the Dark Tide soundtrack, because the Dark Tide soundtrack is all bangers. That's the end of it, right? How much else do we even really have? You kind of logically always end on Space Marine 2. No, we're still going. Owlcat Games. That name rings a bell. Oh, the Rogue Trader game. Right. This is going to be a Warhammer 40k game in the vein of, like, Baldur's Gate, right? I mean, this is going to be big for my buddies Soon and Ted, because they're both big Baldur's Gate guys, but I might try it at some point, depending on how good it's supposed to be. If I hear good things. Fighting the Dark Eldar, that's an interesting choice. That's not the usual baddies that you go with. Kind of more expecting Chaos or Orcs, really. Or usually Orcs and then Chaos. That's always how it goes. It's always Orcs, and then, oh no, the Chaos guys are actually scheming, and they're manipulating the Orcs into being helpful to do some scheme. I don't know. Okay, so you get one Space Marine party member, that makes sense. Go with the Space Wolves. The Space Wolves are probably the ones that, from an RPG perspective, would be the most logical. They would be the ones who would start the most fights. And who also play the space battles. That's cool. This does look neat. I don't know how the gameplay balance would actually work out. I don't know how the story would be, but this does look very neat. Whoa! Snake Man. There are snake people in Warhammer 40k? I knew about, obviously, the Crushy Snake Men in both Warhammer Fantasy and Blood Bowl, but I did not know there were snake people in 40k. Interesting. Okay, we still got Chaos. We got some Nurgle dudes, some Slanesh dudes, some Tzeentch dudes. Now where's Khorne? There's Khorne. There you go. Looks like we're really getting all the baddies in here. Like, the only one I'm not seeing, oddly enough, not Orcs. Not seeing Orcs. And we've not seen Gene Stealers. But other than that, looks like we're seeing everybody here. Oh, Tyranids. What am I saying? Of course, I haven't seen Tyranids yet. I could be dead wrong on all of this. Look at me just speaking without thinking. Okay, there we go. Is that the last one? Was that a new announcement? I feel like I'd heard about that game before. Maybe it was a leak that I'd heard about. Mechanicus? Are we getting Mechanicus 2? I still haven't gotten around to playing Mechanicus 1, even though I really should. I'm bad at XCOM, so it'd be funny because I'd just get whooped on the first couple levels, but nonetheless. Oh, it's just Mechanicus soundtrack. That makes sense. A lot of people loved the Mechanicus soundtrack. On vinyl. Kind of surprised we're not seeing Mechanicus 2, because wasn't that game a pretty big success? I'm pretty sure that game... It did seem like once that game came out, suddenly there were loads of people who were big Mechanicus fanboys or fangirls. Oh, it looks like this might actually be... Probably not Mechanicus 2, but Mechanicus... re-release? 84% off on Mechanicus. What does it mean available now? They're porting it to consoles that it wasn't previously on? Oh, that was weird. Oh, mobile games. Are we really going to be citing the player reviews here? It looks like we are. I don't get it. I don't get it, but it's not for me. Whatever. It's definitely got that Fortnite aesthetic going on. That's real big with the... Is it big with the kids nowadays? It was big with the kids 8 years ago. Well, no. Let's see. Fortnite came out when I was graduating high school, I think. So that would have been 6 years ago. It was big with the kids 6 years ago, but the kids 6 years ago are probably teenagers now, aren't they? One would assume that they probably moved on to other things. I guess Fortnite is just kind of monstrously popular regardless of what's going on, isn't it? Guess it's kind of entering that Call of Duty position where even if the rest of the genre dies off, it's going to keep on going. Because you don't see the quantity of military shooters nowadays that you used to, but Call of Duty keeps on trucking. Is Battlefield even still around? Doesn't seem like I... Oh my god! Power Wash Simulator, Warhammer 40,000. Now this is the one the resolution comes back in for. Makes sense. They don't even have to show a level, they just gotta say it. That's actually very funny. I haven't been too interested in trying Power Wash Simulator, but I might for Warhammer 40k levels just because of how ridiculous it would be. Oh, there's a Steam sale going on. 80% off of Warhammer games. Yeah, I might look into that later. See what money I can scrounge together, but I doubt it'll be much. I smell something good cooking downstairs. Yep, I probably just got a text notification saying that there is something downstairs. Okay, can we wrap things up, boys? I need to go. Chaos Gate. What is that? I've heard about Chaos Gate before. There's been a lot of that going on here. I've heard of this thing before. It looks like it's a turn-based game. Right, it's the turn-based kind of XCOM strategy-esque game where you're playing... I thought you were playing as Grey Knights, but evidently you get to take some guardsmen as well. And apparently you fight a Chaos Knight, which I thought Chaos Knights were... Chaos Knights are smaller than Titans, aren't they? Not Chaos Knights. Well, yes, Chaos Knights. Knights are a thing they introduced after I was paying that much attention to the Warhammer setting. So, I don't really know what the deal is with them. Okay. I said they need to do a big Age of Sigmar game to get people interested. Oh, the skinny orcs. Those dudes are so weird. If this is a card game, I'm going to be so confused and disappointed. I don't get Age of Sigmar. We can do Call Down Lightning and that makes more of the Sigmarines appear. I guess that's the appeal of Age of Sigmar, though. It's more over the top and crazy. But as I've always been more interested, at least in the good guys, for Cities of Sigmar in particular. Cities of Sigmar, I think, is a fascinating idea. The idea of the old Imperials, the Dwarfs, the High Elves, and the Dark Elves working together. That's so weird. Realm Ruin. There we go. The RTS, full gameplay reveal coming June. Yeah, I am very interested in that. I think we'd heard about them working on a Age of Sigmar RTS last year. Or maybe it was 2 years ago now. COVID messed things up for lots of dev teams. But I'm definitely curious to see this. Well, that looks like a pretty high poly model for an RTS. Then again, I'm still going by old RTS standards where it has to be little polygonal block people in order for the game to work. Are the only races going to be the skinny orcs and the Sigmarines? Because if that's the case, I probably would just play... I'd definitely be interested in picking this up. If that was the case, I would just play the skinny orcs. I don't know, maybe there's something on the Sigmarine side that would really impress me, but just, I've never been much of a Space Marine guy, unless it's one of the really wacky chapters. Or the Lamenters. I think the Lamenters are cool because they're tragic. But the Sigmarines, I guess I don't know anything about the Sigmarines, so I shouldn't just off the cuff say, like, screw these guys, I'm gonna play them. Maybe there is something interesting to them that I'm not getting. I do think it's neat that they got chicks. The female Space Marine thing is still so silly. I mean, admittedly, it is partly because of the lack of female Space Marines that we have the Sisters of Battle, and the Sisters of Battle are cool. I think the Sisters of Battle are a lot cooler than the Space Marines. But I always thought it was just, like, why... It's written in, I know there are lore reasons why, but it's like, yeah, but we still write the lore. You know, we could have chose not to do that in the first place. There were old female Space Marine miniatures, weren't there? Way back in, like, the 80s, back in, like, the Rogue Trader days. Oh, hey, this is footage. This looks like Dawn of War. I mean, a much more graphically heavy graphic fidelity Dawn of War, but that looks like Dawn of War. Which is probably not the wrong path to go down, considering Dawn of War 1 was a big success. Just don't make it too advanced or focused on hero mechanics and such. Make it focused on map control and building units and the likes. And that would get people interested. Honestly, if they just want to do Age of Sigmar, Dawn of War, where you get 4 races, you get a cinematic campaign where you play as the Sigmarines going through, then that would really get people in. Have Sigmarines, have the skinny orcs, have one of the Chaos Legions. There's like 8 different Chaos Legions in Age of Sigmar, I don't know them. And let's say... I can't say elves, because the majority of... Well, there's... What are they, the Lumineth? Have the Lumineth there, maybe? Under Teclis? But the High Elves, like the classic High Elves as I know them, are in the cities of Sigmar, so there's not really an elf faction in that way. They advertised a full gameplay reveal in June, but we're seeing a lot of gameplay here. It looks cool. Yeah, I'll be interested. Okay, are we going to wrap it up on something other than that?
What a showcase. That's a lot of Warhammer to look forward to. Find out more about all the games featured in the showcase and where to play or pre-order them by visiting warhammercommunity.com.
It sounds like, yeah, this is the end of it. Well, in that case, I think this was a pretty good Skull showcase. I definitely need to... I've got some stuff to do after this. I've got to look into that Good Old Games goodie package, because I'll be using those discount codes, certainly. I need to look into harassing my friends and making them pick up Gladius. And I need to, speaking of Gladius, I need to, let's just go ahead and Alt-Tab out of this and close the tab. There we go. Just cut back to this, it don't matter. And I definitely need to look into what that Gladius DLC pack is, because hopefully there are some cool units there. So, yeah, looked like a fairly alright Skulls showcase. Should I upload this? Yeah, I guess some people might be interested in what I've got to say about some of this stuff, but a lot of that was admittedly card games or mobile games where I just go, I don't care. So, I'll upload this anyways. And, if you think this was a waste of my time and yours, tell me I'm a stupid idiot in the comments. Or don't. I may make some bad choices. Either which way, I will see y'all later. Bye. Is my mouse on the right button? Yeah, there we go. Bye.